Okay, cue, good page, camera rolling, action.
Welcome everyone to the TED Talks YouTube channel. Now, there are so many different ways to start in property. I'm going to talk you through a real top level of the major and the kind of most well-known strategies in property. So you can look at and consider, which one could be for me? Because depending on where you're living, your time, how much time you have, your situation, how much cash you have, some of these are not going to be possible right now, and some of these are going to be very possible right now. Of course, with investors, all strategies are possible from day one, but you may not feel comfortable doing that just yet. So let's start with rent to rent. What is rent to rent? A lot of people and a lot of estate agents will say subletting or subleasing. Yeah, technically it is, but it's not. So rent to rent is essentially where I'm the landlord and you are the rent to renter. Now, you're the middle person. I have a flat that's on for $1,200 a month, city centre, it's all nice, blah, blah, blah. I can rent it to a tenant. I can risk them not paying, I can risk them messing it up, I can have various issues with it. I might say, you know what, I just want some peace of mind. You come along and say, right, Ted, I will give you guaranteed income, and this is guaranteed by you personally, so don't mess around here. But Ted, I'll give you £1,000 a month, guaranteed for 3 years, no break clauses, no voids, no maintenance, we cover everything. And I look and say, well, that's 200 quid less a month, times up by 12, okay, it's a fair chunk of money. Do some sums, come back to you, and if I'm interested, I'll say, hey, let's do it, because there's no voids, there's no maintenance, so actually, yeah, you're paying me less, but you're guaranteeing it, and you're ensuring that I don't have any out-of-pocket costs as we're going along. I know a lot of landlords and landladies are going to say no, but you now have two options with this, which you'll know beforehand. You either turn it into a HMO, or if it's an existing HMO, you tidy it up, you make it look nice, you rent it out room by room. Your profit comes in, of course, from the last one or two or X many rooms. So you're paying me 1,000, let's say it's a house now, it's a HMO. You're renting it at 500 a room and it's a 5-bed. After rent, after all costs, after everything, after you've paid me off, your profit is £500 a month in this example, right? So your last room here is your profit. That's how you make your money. So pretty straightforward, pretty kind of, I would say it's simple. At the start, you're gonna have people rejecting you, people saying, no, oh, you haven't got contracts, haven't got references. But the concept of it is simple. You're the middle person, you're paying me, the owner, X amount, guaranteeing it, no voids, no maintenance. You're then taking Y amount from the people and you're taking the difference. Now, I say 500, it can be 300, 500, 800, can be £1,000, it can be £2,000 sometimes. I've heard of people having, £2,000. So actually, rent to rent, you want to quit your job, you could get a rent to rent really quickly. There's no conveyancing, there's no crap. It's fairly quick. We're talking weeks potentially if you're good and you know what you're doing. So you could have one rent to rent in a month, maybe 2 or 3 after like 3 or 4 months. If you keep following that blueprint, you could have 5 or 6 at the end of 6 months or a year. Times that 6 by 500, times it by 1,000. Are you quitting your job? You probably are. So rent to rent and rent to rent HMO, very powerful. However, it's a HMO. Got 5 humans in it, irritating you. You took my milk, did this, I pissed in my bread. You got to deal with that. Oh, can you change your light bulb for me? You have to deal with that. If you're in a job and you get a call at 2 p.m, can you come and do this? No. Do you have people to do this? So just think about that when it comes to rent to rent HMO in particular. The next one is rent to rent SA, or serviced accommodation, Airbnb, booking.com. Now, this is where you rent the apartment usually as is. So say it's a flat, say it's a flat like this, you rent it out as is to holiday makers or to contractors or anyone really who needs some temporary accommodation. Again, you pay me, the landlord, 1,000 a month. You're renting it for 2,800, 3,000 in the high season, 2,200 in the low season, and you're taking the difference. Now you have to manage an SA, which is, I wouldn't say it's property, I'd say it's hospitality. Different skill set, different everything required. Are you ready for this? That's the question, right? However, especially in the high season, in the good months, you can make a good chunk of money. And on a side note, if you do buy to SA, you can make even more money because there's no rent, it's just the mortgage. So that's buy to SA. You may spend a bit more on furnishings and making it look nice and getting super nice photos and videos, but again, the other branch of rent to rent, potentially equally as demanding. Now, there's another side way to do rent to rent where you don't actually rent to rent it. You're the managing agent. So you come in and say, right, I'll manage the HMO and I'll take a cut. Cool, different kind of setup there. The land person has to do maintenance. Or you do rent to SA as a management only. You take 18, 20% and they get the rest of it. So that kind of pitch might be easier because you say, look, you may make slightly less in the down months, but in the good months, you're going to be raking it in. And you as a manager have less liability in terms of they're paying for maintenance, they're kind of covering everything, you're just managing it. However, the landlady has to check with their mortgage and insurance as they may not cover rent to rent. The next thing is, buy to let, 25% deposit, rent it out, get a 6, 7, 8% yield. Great, simple as that. The next is buy, refurbish, refinance, which I have videos on. I'll put a card here linking you to it. You buy a house for 40 grand, you spend 30, you spend 25 on it, you then get it revalued at whatever, 195, it gets revalued, you get 75% of that new value, and guess what? That covers your purchase price, covers your costs, and covers your refurb, and then you restart, and you go again, and again, and again, and you get, I'd say a sort of 15 to 50% on average return, but you can get 100 or infinite returns if you like to call it. So BRR is buy to let, but on steroids, and some really good steroids. The side effect is working with builders, so it's a pretty big side effect as well. The next one is HMOs. I would say a level up from buy to lets, especially in terms of lending, the amount of work you have to do. But HMOs require more money up front. They are more management intensive down the line versus buy to lets. But sometimes you spread your risk. You've got 5 bedrooms as opposed to a buy to let where it's one house. If they don't pay rent, that's done. If one tenant doesn't pay rent, you're still kind of making your way, maybe breaking even, maybe making a profit. There's lots of pros and cons. Go on my Instagram and I've put a chart. I'll put a chart up here that shows you the differences between buy to let and HMO. But I prefer buy to let. But HMO is there and it's maybe a step up. You've got flips, which people say it's a step up. I think it's level to buy to let, maybe somewhat easier, where you buy a house, you do it up, and you sell it. It's as simple as that, isn't it? It's not. There's a lot that goes into it. You have to buy it at a good price. You have to re-add or add value. Then you sell it, all your money back out, plus your cash. Now, me and my friend James are running a flip weekend in November. So please, send me a DM. I'll put the link below, sign up, and hopefully we'll see you there. Flips are a fantastic strategy, especially when you're starting out. Oh, Tej, I've got 40 grand, what do I do? Why don't you make it into 60? And then why don't you make that 60 into 90? And then go buy some buy-to-lets. Why don't you multiply your cash pot first? And hey, if you turn that 40 into 60, maybe you take that 20 you've created and say, right, I'm done with the day job. This is now my salary for the next 12 months. I can live off this, and go again and go again. So those are the main strategies. You've got developments, which are much, much higher end, more money, more problems, bigger risk, bigger profits. They all go hand in hand. Then you've got things like lease options, deal sourcing, the management kind of piece I touched on. But those are the main strategies in property. And in my other video, which I'll link at the end here, I've spoken about how much money you need for each one. But combining both these videos, have a think about what suits you and how you can get into property, because there isn't just one way to do it. You can combine lease options with BRRs, you can combine flips with developments or conversions, and conversions is another, strategy in itself. There are so many ways to start, but what's really important is it matches how much money you have access to, how much money you have, and where you want to be, and most importantly, what you enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out these videos here.